Thanks.
All right. So let's get back to crypto side of the house. By the way, for a change, I am recording this session today. Someone pinged me on the meetup saying, where is the replay? I'm like, replay? I don't record these crypto sessions. So maybe from today onwards, I'll record it and push it over to YouTube and have it available for review. So what we got for today, let's discuss. So as always, there are a few things that I want to talk about, but this is mainly for Q&A, mainly for discussion. So if you have any other points that you want to bring up for discussions, that will take precedence over any of the other content. But if you don't have anything, any thoughts, anything else, then we'll go over some of the content that I found interesting in the crypto world. And, maybe that content will, initiate some discussions. So first thing first, we saw Bitcoin in all the crypto tumbling down. Bitcoin was down almost 10%. At some point of a time, it went all the way to 40K, depending on what exchange you're looking for, then recovered back to 44K. That was a huge drop because it was almost at 52K. But if we are following what's happening on chain, easy to understand. We had so much of a perpetual futures that were open. The total amount was almost 13.5 billion. Last time we had all-time high was somewhere around April, and then we saw, what happened to the Bitcoin around that. So this is equal to, how would I say, all the traders getting onto the one side of the trade. Everyone is super bullish on Bitcoin. And maybe the driver was this El Salvador adoption of Bitcoin. And everyone got super bullish. A lot of future perpetual contracts. So this happens only Bitcoin. I don't think the other the futures, they are perpetual in nature, but the Bitcoin futures there are some futures which are perpetual in nature, which means they never expire. So 13.4 billion worth of open futures were there, mostly almost all on the bullish side. And they were also leveraged. So if the Bitcoin doesn't really work out the way this whole bullish gang thought, the price doesn't rise, then some of their positions will get liquidated because they were leveraged. And some of them will get liquidated, which means a little more pressure on the Bitcoin goes down, few more gets liquidated. So that cleanup happens over time. From time to time, we have seen this cleanup happening. So this one was one another cleanup. Unfortunately, I only saw this chart a day later. It was actually available on Glassnode's Twitter profile, but I didn't see it a day before. So it was as if someone was like trying to call out just a day before, saying, hey, we have a lot of one-sided futures in Bitcoin, one-sided trades, and have seen time and again that these things don't sustain for long. But I think a lesson for me is maybe keep an eye for such information. What will it always happen when it reaches $14 billion? Probably not. Right? But the idea is when we have seen that in stocks also, when everyone starts taking only one side of the trade, it becomes that side becomes too big, and that is not sustainable. Then any crack, any weakness on that particular side, if you're bullish, and any weakness in the bullish sentiment will basically, things will fall down like house of cards or like a dominoes. So that's essentially what we saw on the Bitcoin, that, it went down. Along with it, it also took the other cryptocurrencies. But if you look at the other on-chain metrics like what's the institutional investors buying, or how much is the money moving out from the not the whale address, but those diamond hand address. Right? Those things are still okay. I haven't seen much change on that one. Okay. But this is an interesting chart that I found. Thought I'll bring it up for you. I think I need to spend more time and keeping and tracking on what's happening, on the Glassnode metrics. That seems to be way more interesting and way more, I would say, closer to reality than any other Bitcoin charts, right? We can find the other Bitcoin charts like this, right? Or we can draw our Bollinger Bands or the average, exponential EMAs over here. But I don't think those still respect the traditional TAs. But I think there's probably more truth in what's happening on-chain. But listen. So why everyone got bullish? Because of El Salvador. Let's jump to that news. But this was a big news in the Bitcoin world, or I would say rather the overall crypto world, is a new experiment in the world. That's the first country, however small it is. There are only 6 million people in El Salvador, but now Bitcoin has become officially a legal tender. And today I saw another news that Ukraine, even though the crypto-friendly media has really made it at a big news, saying Ukraine has now legalized Bitcoin. But there's a difference between legalizing a Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency and marking the cryptocurrency or Bitcoin as an official legal tender. Right? Legalizing means now the Ukraine has a framework for the crypto assets to exist in the market. Bitcoin holding is legal here as well. It's not illegal, but in US, Bitcoin is not an official legal tender. I cannot pay my taxes with Bitcoin. Then the IRS will be behind for anyone dealing in a Bitcoin to collect taxes, but we cannot pay taxes in Bitcoin. But in El Salvador, starting September 7th, folks, if they want to, can pay taxes in Bitcoin. You can go and buy stuff and pay for Bitcoin. Merchants have started to accept it. Some merchants will take time. Government has given them more time to be ready. So it is not illegal not to accept Bitcoin. Earlier it was, but then the law during the 3-month period. So law was passed on June 9th. So between June 9th and now, I think they made it little easier on the merchants. They won't call it as an illegal if you don't accept Bitcoin. You can still continue to accept US dollars. So this was passed by supermajority. No surprises, because the current president controls most of the Congress. So the crypto officially became legal tender on Tuesday. So now there are 2 legal tenders in El Salvador. The US dollar. El Salvador doesn't have its own currency. They're basically using US dollar. And now the second one is Bitcoin. So goods, services, even taxes can now be paid. There have been some protests on this move as well. Protests from some merchants, group of veterans in El Salvador. IMF came and told that this step of El Salvador considering Bitcoin as an official currency is detrimental to its economy. We'll see what might happen. That's what the IMF raised a concern. JP Morgan said that it could face headwinds, suggesting potential limitation of its use case as a medium of exchange may emerge. But I did see some videos of a gentleman actually paying in Starbucks through Bitcoin. and it was pretty fast. So the way it happened was he bought a coffee. The Starbucks barista showed him a QR code, and he just scanned the QR code on his wallet, and the payment was done in a few seconds. So that was pretty fast. Now, the bigger concern is around this whole volatility of Bitcoin and all that, but the infrastructure of paying or the transaction settling, because they are using Lightning Network, that's pretty quick, and the fee is like fractions of a penny. So merchants are happy because they don't have to pay a big fee to credit card providers, right? Credit card, these Visa and MasterCard, they will deduct 2.5%, 3% if the customers are paying in through credit card. And most of the merchants, they escape the volatility of Bitcoin because the moment they receive the Bitcoin, they immediately convert it into US dollars. So this is just being used as a quick transaction and to reduce the fee. I think those who have relatives, kids outside of El Salvador and are sending money back in El Salvador, they are extremely happy with this arrangement. They don't have to pay 8%, 7%, in some cases like 16% to these intermediaries like MoneyGram, like Western Union, to transfer the money from US or from other country back to your people in El Salvador. So from that perspective, it's great. I think some businesses are concerned because they don't have an infrastructure available to start accepting Bitcoin. Number two, from a technology perspective, the wallet, etc., still has to be stable. Government has its own wallet called Chivo wallet, which customers can the El Salvador citizens, they can download, and it comes preloaded with $30 worth of Bitcoin. So that's like helicopter money that was provided by El Salvador government to each of the user who has downloaded Bitcoin or who has downloaded the wallet. Go spend this, try this out, kind of a stuff. But when everyone tried to download the wallet, the website went offline. There were some issues. Natural. I mean, I'm not too surprised. It's a new stuff. When Obamacare, Affordable Care Act was launched, when everyone tried to access the website, it went down. So nothing new. But these tech problems will get solved and we'll get over with it. But it's a great experiment in the monetary systems around the world. And I'm sure many countries who don't control their own currencies will be watching this event to see what happens to El Salvador. They are the first one. And if they really find it that it has not impacted their economic growth or whatever, ability to take loans or to interact with in the world, with the rest of the world, many countries may look forward to this particular step. Too early to say, but I'm also watching it to see what happens. But El Salvador did end up buying overall, I think, 500 Bitcoins. They bought initially 200 or 300 on September 7th. And when the Bitcoin tumbled, they picked up another couple of hundred. So I think now El Salvador has maybe around 500 Bitcoins in their government reserves. So that was an interesting story. I think many of those initial run-up in the Bitcoin was in anticipation of bullishness that arose because of this particular event. Was that a huge deal? A lot of positions got liquidated, and we're back to what, 46K, wherever. So in support of this particular day, and now I came to know this is called Bitcoin Day. You know, it's a day in the history of Bitcoin when a country adopted Bitcoin as a legal currency. So it's called a Bitcoin Day, and the proponents, they all agreed to buy $30 worth of Bitcoin on the same day on September 7th. So did any one of you bought any Bitcoin on September 7th? Did you, any one of you bought after that when Bitcoin tumbled? All right, full silence. So I bought some, but that wasn't to coincide with this Bitcoin Day or September 7th. It was a part of my, regular portfolio balance. I had sold some stocks in one of an account. And as you would have heard me in Saturday discussion, I'm not too bullish on the stock market based on where the market is now. So I moved that money over to crypto market and bought as a regular price. So I bought it more before it fell down. So it's okay. I'm not here for, for next 6 months gain. So, and then I bought it a little more when after it went down. So we'll see what happens. But it's a part of my DCA that I ended up buying some Bitcoin and some of the other cryptos as my regular engagement with the crypto market. But this is an exciting news. We'll see. We'll keep an eye. And if anything big comes up, either positive or negative, I'll be, we'll discuss it again in some other session. Anyone have any comments on El Salvador's experiment on monetary system? Nope. We'll have to see. I also want to see what's happening in that Bitcoin beach. There is a nice place where I think a lot of surfers go to El Salvador because they got a nice waves. I'm no surfer. I have no idea what happened, but that's what I was reading. And that area, that's why it's called Bitcoin Beach. Even prior to this, there was very Bitcoin friendly. A lot of merchants were accepting Bitcoin. Many of the proponents or the companies that are helping El Salvador move on to Bitcoin, like Strike, etc., they were all, go to that place and use Bitcoin. We'll see what happens with this great experiment. What else caught my eye? Oh, this came in today. I mean, I can't wrap my head and tail around this one. The GIFs for the Bored Apes NFT. So it looks like an auction happened today for 101 Bored Ape NFT, and it fetched $24 million. Sometimes I feel when I read these news and then I'm, I get into questioning more. What the heck is happening in this world? Maybe I'm too old for this shenanigans. But it means the average sale price of this NFT is $240,000. Would you pay $240K for this ape NFT? I won't, but looks like there are people who are paying because they saw the beast. How can they stay away? Doesn't matter whether you're selling physical art or a digital art. Sotheby's and Christie's have to get involved, and they conducted this auction. 101 bidders were there who have paid, collectively have paid $24 million for these nice Bored Apes. So these Bored Apes is not at all a boring business. Maybe we should create something, while this crazy, while this craze continues, before it dies down, maybe we should create an NFT, and you can buy a house in some places in this much amount. People have too much money, and maybe they have a different eye to value these than what I might have. These decisions, a different eye and a different heart. I don't think these decisions can't be made by mind. It's more made by heart. Yvette says, has anyone tried crypto trading using bots? I have not. I don't even trade stocks using bots. So I have not tried crypto Anyone else knows of any platform and have tried cryptos? I know some platforms allow you to do systematic investing, means regular investing. But I'm assuming that when you say bots, you're actually looking for all the sophisticated bots which look for whatever criteria you want to give them and automatically trade in and out of it. Not very plain, simple, okay, dollar cost averaging kind of a bots, which you can set up and forget it. Buy $500 worth of or $100 worth of Bitcoin every week at this particular date. But I have not tried. I haven't tried this. If anyone else have tried it, feel free to share. I know James is pretty active. He's in this industry. So James, what are your thoughts on the bots? He wrote a few bots back in 2017. You didn't like them, you don't use them anymore, or you don't write them anymore?
Yeah, so I traded. So back in 2017, a lot of these exchanges didn't have great liquidity, right? So I was mostly the strategy I was using was just arbitrage essentially.
Okay.
I would keep basically liquidity at a bunch of different exchanges. Some of them don't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I would just use their different APIs. I would basically, I wrote a essentially just a bot that would go and look for essentially just
the differences,
price differences. Yeah, and then it was pretty good. I mean, especially some of the lower liquidity exchanges. Would it work for huge amounts? Probably not. Yeah, a lot of these bots, the trick is also to see if it can work. It can scale, right? Like it might be able to make 20% on like a couple of thousand, but can you scale it up to millions or something like that? So they may not be able to. Your strategy may not be able to scale. Is another issue. There may not be enough liquidity for you to scale. So yeah, that's pretty much the thing with bots.
I remember in 2017, I forgot what the website name was, but that was actually showing, the price of Bitcoin in different exchanges, and many of the other assets on different exchanges. And I was able to see that the price differences in some cases, you will see $2,000, $3,000 difference when the Bitcoin was trading at around $19,000, $20,000. But I forgot, I don't know what, it was in 2017. There was one website which actually showed you all the prices of available at different exchanges.
Yeah,
and I had the same thought. Like what you
also
did.
Market making. I wrote another bot that did some market making, like predicting short-term kind of what the price is going to be, and then put in like simultaneously like bids and offers. But the thing is, like a lot of times you have to be careful, right? When there's a large price discrepancy, like back in 2017, I remember at one point some Chinese exchange, I think it was Huobi or some exchange at the time, was like 20% or something lower than the rest of the world, right? But you got to ask yourself why, right? Like nobody's there to take advantage of that. That'd be kind of weird, right? So a lot of people kind of jumped on it, but they ended up having not being able to withdraw their Bitcoin, right? And that was the reason for the 20%. So sometimes you have to be careful about these large differences.
And Huobi always come up in these conversations. Even the recent drawdown that we had a few days ago, while most of the exchanges, the price was around 44K, Huobi, it went out at one point of time, like almost it touched 40K. That exchange, I don't know if that's Chinese. I thought maybe that's Korean exchange.
No, it's Chinese. It's Huobi, like fire, like fire. Huo means fire.
Oh, it's
B means coin, right? So it is definitely Chinese.
Oh, yeah, it says founded in China. Oh, it's founded in China. Offices in Hong Kong and South Korea, Japan, and US. Okay, yeah, it is founded in China. So yeah, so that's always come up as one exchange wherein you'll suddenly see the pricing going down for 20% as compared to some of the other exchanges. We saw it in way back when we had the volatility in May. And even now we saw that there was one candle where it'll go and touch at 40K on Bitcoin, and that was on Huobi exchange. Yeah, but you're right. There has to be a reason why it was there. So yeah, I don't have any experience on trading with bots. I trade myself like a bot, and hey, when I want to buy it at a specified interval, just go log in and just buy it. Other stuff which is making a lot of news is what's happening with the Coinbase and SEC. Literally, I don't know if you had a chance to look through this, but this was a very strong rant by the CEO of Coinbase. The history behind this is Coinbase actually has been watching all other companies like BlockFi, like Celsius, like Nexo, like Kraken, offering the products, the lending products, wherein, hey, I lend my USDC to Celsius and Celsius is giving me 8.8%. So yeah, I moved some of my money from my 0.01% bank account to 8.8% Celsius network account. And Coinbase also wanted to get into that business. They announced it a few months ago, their lending product, in which customers can earn 4% if they deposit USDCs. And fair enough. You don't have to worry about the volatility of the crypto market, but you get your 4%. But the idea is you choose a strong stable coin. USDC, I have little faith on USDC. I have faith on USDC. So I've been using that. But it did not receive SEC approval. And then we saw that Coinbase's legal team, the legal head, Paul Grewal. And then we also saw Brian Armstrong going on to offensive against SEC. So I think this is an interesting read. We'll probably not read all, but a little bit. It starts with some sketchy behavior coming out of SEC recently. And that's itself caught me. Who is now going and complaining, a CEO of a public crypto, the first company involved in crypto economy, first company to go public, is now ranting about the SEC behavior. Their whole concern is that SEC is not giving them any reasons of why they won't approve it. So they say, if we first decided, bunch of great companies in crypto have been offering versions of this for years. Coinbase came out recently and said we would be launching our own version. We were planning to go live in a few weeks, so we reached out to SEC to give them a heads up. And SEC told that this lend feature is a security. And that means then it goes through a completely different regulatory framework. So we asked SEC to help us understand and share their view. They refuse to tell us why they think it's a security, and instead subpoena a bunch of records from us. We comply. Demand testimony from our employees. One employee sat with them, SEC, for 8 hours. We comply, and then tell us that they'll be suing us if we proceed to launch with zero explanation as to why, which is pretty strange. I think for him to come out in public, looks like this is really going to be a fight. Look, we are committed to follow the law, but sometimes the law is unclear. So if SEC wants to publish guidance, we are also happy to follow that. In any case, the worst part which I saw was that SEC, so for now, Coinbase had asked users to register if they want to have access, to this particular feature. Now, where did it go? SEC is basically they asked Coinbase to share the details of everyone who has registered to for this particular product. Where did it go? And basically Coinbase says, no, we're not going to do that, which I am really scared. Why would SEC is interested? Okay, give me the details of all the users. So and if you want to go more details into it, there is a blog which their legal team has put forth. But I think, and then there are some businesses, I think Mark Cuban came in support of Brian Armstrong, saying, I think you should go ahead and launch the product and let SEC sue you, and we'll figure out in the courts, because they haven't made clear what the law is. Let the judges interpret the law. But again, regulation by litigation is not the best way to work. But if this is what SEC wants, maybe we'll figure out. But this is a pretty, I would say, caustic remark and kind of a flaming Twitter post by the CEO of Coinbase, and very interesting development. More important for other businesses to figure out what's the SEC viewpoint on this industry is. Doesn't seem to be too friendly for now, but we'll see what happens next. Whereas, which crypto exchange would you recommend? FTX, Binance, Bybit? So I only deal in US regulated crypto exchanges. FTX, Binance.us, Coinbase Pro version, Kraken, Gemini. You could trade in whatever exchange you want to, but we run up into a risk wherein some of these exchanges will cut off the ability for US residents to, they will basically stop serving US residents, at some point of a time, if they have a fear of a litigation by SEC. In 2017, I had an account in Poloniex. And then suddenly, I think 2019 or 2020, early 2020, I received an email from Poloniex saying, you withdraw all your assets, crypto assets, because you won't have access to this account in a few months. Thank God I looked at that email and I took action. But imagine if I had missed that email in the heaps of others, these are scam emails and those marketing emails that come around. If I had missed that email, then it would have been game over for me. So then I decided I'm not going to open any account within exchanges that are not US approved. We don't know at what point of a time they may say, okay, we can't serve US residents anymore. So otherwise, FTX, Binance are both good platforms. Bybit is mostly used for, if I recall, is a lot of our futures and by a lot of traders, but not US regulated. So you run that risk. All right, what else? So this is another chart. And maybe here we'll talk about Solana as well a little bit. Is Masari put up a chart around the initial token allocations for public blockchain. So if I look at this, some of the tokens have a huge allocation to the initial insiders, right? Binance, which we all know is a centralized company. Solana has got 48%, which is huge. I think mostly, probably a lot of this goes to FTX because Solana also got investments backed by FTX. Sam I don't know if it is FTX capacity or Sam invested on his own personal capacity. If anyone knows, feel free to correct me. But looking at how much of the insiders own, insiders mean the team, the company, the VCs, it could tell you something about the risk. Let me put it that way, not risk, because it depends on what your outlook is and for what purpose are we using these blockchains for. But it does give us some information around the level of where the decision making could lie. Right? Is there a possibility for a small group of people to control the future of that blockchain? In case of the ones which are heavily owned by insiders and less owned by the community and the public, you have that risk. Basically, we run into that risk in terms of the fewer or the smaller group of people. Maybe it's VCs, maybe it's those developer or the team behind it, which would control the future. Even if you move to proof of stake, right? Solana is proof of stake. They got proof of history plus proof of stake. But 48% initial token was allocated for the insiders. For me, I would say this runs the risk of little centralization, which is okay as long as I understand this, what's the purpose, for which purpose am I using Solana for? Which now brings me to the next point, is that could be one reason why Solana is so fast. I mean, this is what the reason why Solana grew so much in the recent time is pretty fast transactions. So if you are doing NFT business, or if you are engaging in DeFi products, the gas you pay is very less. The number of transactions you can do on Solana is huge. I think this is what 60,000 TPS. There's a chart that we had looked earlier, right? Processing TP. Let me figure out. But now I understand why, Solana may be so fast. The plain trilemma that exists in any blockchain, right? Which is, let's draw that. Maybe you have seen this earlier, but probably good to revise this. There's a trilemma which always exists in any of the blockchains. One is security. Other is speed. And the third corner is decentralization, means governance. This you touch one, the others will be moved. And that's a big trilemma which every blockchain has to go through, figuring out what do I want more. Looks like this probably is a given fact. This is a table that, table stake. If the blockchain is not secure, then probably there is no value in it. It's a zero value. Don't care how fast it is. Don't care what the governance practice is. If it is not secure, there is no value. So I think any blockchain worth its salt has to have a security. So then we are depending on moving these levers, trying to figure out what I want to sacrifice, which one I want to sacrifice for others. My opinion, Bitcoin has focused a lot more on this one and has decided to sacrifice speed, but not give up with the decentralization. Solana probably went the other way, which is okay, depending on what the use case is. Why someone wants to use Solana. And I hope all the people who are building products on Solana, go through the same thought process. Maybe they have got a great speed, but probably not that decentralized. So that got me to look in, Solana is proof of stake. What does it take to run a validator node on Solana? I started looking at Solana because we all know what happened with it, right? It has now jumped into number 6 from nowhere. It was what, $1, close to $2, 6 months or last year. Maybe it was $20, $25, $26, $30 a few months ago in May, close to $30. And boom, in 3 weeks, we saw it's rising from $40 all the way to, it crossed 200 some part of a time, with huge volume coming in. I don't know what the heck is happening here. There are DeFi projects like Mango projects coming up on Solana. All those projects are coming up though, and those are quick, cheap, fast. But if you double click and try to understand why, I think it's important to know why they are so quick and why they're so fast. Have they figured out a great technology, or is there something more to it? So I started to figure out, okay, how do I run a Solana node? So let's look at what is required to run a Solana node. So this is their hardware recommendations. 128 GB of RAM. I can't even run. I mean, not everyone can afford to run a Solana node. This hardware is really high. The specs are really very heavy. Whereas anyone can run a Bitcoin node. You can run a Bitcoin node on a laptop, but we cannot run it in a Solana node on our laptops or easy machines. So obviously there may not be thousands of validated or such nodes running. There could be limited amount of people or the companies who are running this. So the lesser the decentralized, lesser the degree of decentralization, faster would be the confirmation times, and the faster would be the blockchain. And that's my understanding. Could be wrong. Solana would turn out to be great, which is okay. But let's understand what this is for before we jump onto blindly on, hey, this is great, this is so fast, it's going to conquer the world. Maybe for some use cases we don't need a decentralization, we are okay with the centralization. Maybe they are entering into the market in which they may be forming a private blockchain. It's a great stuff for that. Right? So just a thought. My thoughts on where we're having on the Solana side. Also, the storage requirement will go pretty quickly with a high TPS. Yes. And there's another company that had grown because looks like Solana told that they will use that company for storing. So there are a few projects which deal in storage. Most well-known is, I think, the Filecoin is the biggest one. Then, yes, so I was coming to that. Yeah, James, Airweave, because the Airweave's USP is data forever. Means we're not gonna replace the data. We're gonna keep adding data. So it's like if you have created a transaction, or if you have, let's say, if you have uploaded a GIF and then you modified it, they're not gonna delete this, but they're gonna replace it with a new one, right? It's data forever. And there was a news that Solana is gonna use I don't know, what do you call it? I'll call it Airweave, right? Solana is going to use Airwave for storing the data. And almost at the same time, we saw astronomical rise in this particular as well. So yeah, but that's going to get pretty expensive. We have the storage, and if this becomes more expensive, then the overall transaction will become expensive. I agree. But I don't know how many people have a need to, depending on what the use case is. If I'm only using Solana for tracking transactions as a ledger, well, then the storage requirement may not be that high. But if I'm using Solana to build, say, a decentralized music streaming or movie streaming, then hell, I need a lot of storage, right? So that would be a different story. Then you cannot say, okay, it's pretty cheap. The transaction may be cheap, but the storage cost may become really high. So overall cost of operation may become high. But yeah, that's my good thought on Solana. I will still wait and watch. I haven't, disclaimer, I don't hold any positions in Solana yet. But it was interesting to see what happened to Solana. What the heck, it suddenly went up, and why is it so fast? So did a little study on it. Probably will turn out to be great. It's good for ecosystem to have more than one such blockchains, right? We don't want only Ethereum. It needs to have some competition for Ethereum. Solana, great. It's going to be Polkadot. Who knows? It's going to be the next one I'm going to talk about, and 2 more I'm going to talk about. Could those be it? Who knows? But it's good to have that competition. We'll keep all the developers and the people behind the dominant Ethereum chain on toes. So, because we talked about others, let's look at the crypto calendar then. What's coming next? There's some update coming to Cardano ecosystem. The smart contract release will be happening on September 12th. I think last week I talked about that. Their dev team, IOG, Input Output Global. It used to be called Input IOHK, Input Output Hong Kong, and they changed the name to IOG, but still referred by both the names in social media. So they confirmed that they still look good for September 12th, but this week they actually submitted a proposal to do it on September 12th. Means now no turning back. The changes in the Cardano blockchain, Cardano ecosystem to enable smart contract will go live on September 12th. Right? We'll see what happens after that. Cardano, as like Solana, has had a good run in the past few weeks in anticipation of the smart contract. It is now number 3 in the market cap. And you don't even have smart contract yet. You don't even have any decentralized exchange yet, because there are no smart contracts on which you can write how the DEXs will operate. You don't even have any vibrant, any DeFi big applications that are available yet. And this damn thing is already 3rd biggest crypto asset, with the institutional investors getting into it. So we'll see what happens, but it enjoyed a pretty good run over the last few, I would say last few weeks, all the way to $3. Could it be a buy the rumor, sell the news after September 12th? We have yet to see. So this project has a lot to prove. Right now, it's all riding on the anticipation of the things will be great once the smart contracts are in. There are applications being built. There are applications being built. I know James doesn't like Cardano ecosystem because they're using Haskell, and I can't wrap my head around why Haskell, because that's like a language we don't use In mostly the other software industry, it's a very specialized language. But that's what their claim is, that this Haskell is a Turing complete and a functional programming language. Means you know upfront what's the gas price would be. You know upfront, I mean, there are no surprises in it. That's what the functional program. Again, I'm not a software developer, so I might be saying something which is incorrect. So keep me honest there. I try to read upon what the heck is this functional programming language. I mean, every programming language functions, but looks like there are different languages which are meant for different purposes. The IOHK gives the reasoning of their choice of Haskell is because it's a functional programming language. You know upfront how much gas you're going to pay. Then there's no change on that. You know what's the, there won't be any surprises in terms of exceptions, etc. Whatever. Take it with a pinch of salt, right? It's their baby, so they have to say good things about it. So I actually asked some of my friends, I'm like, guys, you've been in software industry, tell me what's this functional programming? What's this Haskell? I couldn't get much information. So James says functions don't have side effects. Yep, that's what they claim to be, and say if you have to really build a financial ecosystem, we cannot have surprises. In Ethereum, you actually have surprises. We trying to guess what our gas price would be and put in, and sometimes it just works out. My transaction goes through. I have seen that while trying to move some of the coins, and sometimes the transaction won't go through because it's a guess. But what IOHK claims is once on a Cardano, there is a certainty. Again, there is an ecosystem that is being built. We'll see what happens to this ecosystem after the smart contract is in place. How many projects actually see the light of the day? How many projects have traction in terms of people started to use it, or companies or the developers starting to actually use it? Right now, most of these, let's say, what you got a MELD, I know, is a DeFi protocol, right? And they have a Sunday swap, which is the equivalent of Sushi swap or Uniswap. Where is the Sunday swap? That's a DEX, which I know is in news. They got a Charlie 3, which is their Oracle, which is what would be a competitor, or wouldn't be a competitor, let's say, which does a similar thing what Chainlink does on Ethereum blockchain. So there are a bunch of these projects. But again, all these projects cannot go live yet unless they have really workable smart contract ability, which is what will go live on September 12th. I'm already seeing some questions raised by the developers from Ethereum community on, how the concurrency works. And again, I think there's the different way in which you have to think if you have to want to program in Cardano, because it is based on a different model. Without getting into details, there are two types of models that I've seen. One is unspent transaction output model, what Bitcoin uses. Other one is account-based model, which is what Ethereum uses. Right? Our banking system is account-based model. Bitcoin looks at the unspent transactions. That is why for every transaction, there will be two outputs. So for example, if I want to transfer $5, and if my wallet has got $10, we'll take out $10, transfer $5, return $5 back to me. What Cardano has done is they've extended this unspent transaction output model. They call it EUTXO. So if there are developers which are developing applications on account-based model, which is what the Ethereum supports, and most of the smart contract developers are actually coming from account-based models. Now, if they were to move and start developing for Cardano, you have to change your paradigm on how you think about doing certain stuff, right? So there's a little back and forth on, hey, how do I do it on Cardano? It doesn't support this. So I cannot even run, these concurrent stuff. And then this week I saw IUH releasing a blog post and all that stuff. It's not a great thing. We are asking the developers to change their way of thinking before the coding. So obviously there will be a friction in adoption. So we'll see how, what happens to it. They're trying to train developers on their programming ecosystem, which is Plutus. Let's see how the adoption goes. That's all I have to say. Right now, there's nothing much to show around this, but it does have a promise. The question is, will they deliver on this promise or not? That's all we have it on. But it's sometimes surprising to see that there's so much just on the anticipation. It is like number 3 in the total market cap. So they have these on the foundation, which promote this ecosystem. They got a lot of applications like Sunday Swap is there. DEX is, I think there'll be more DEXs. Flano, Charlie is Oracle, Haskell's, Marlowe. These are the, I would say, their programming interfaces or the base for writing the DeFi applications. Marlowe is specifically focused on writing financial smart contracts. The general purpose smart contracts could be written in Plutus. And the Haskell is the underlying language. These are some of the wallets they have. I have a Daedalus wallet on my laptop. Then there are some of these wallets they support. These may be more of an NFT projects, I guess. What are these? I don't know. There, Wolfram Alpha, which provides a lot of how would I put it? AI-based inferences and solving like math problems. So Wolfram Alpha is also partner of Cardano. They're doing some work with Cardano. Plus, they have some traction in Africa with some with Ethiopian government and all that. I think they talked about here. Ethiopian government. There is some work. We'll see how this works out. But yeah, it's consuming some eyeballs and some chatter in the market because their smart contract release is happening this weekend. And then there is a summit coming up on September 25th, 26th. So that's what coming about Cardano. Solana we already talked about. Then I also noticed Algorand is waking up. If you go back and look at Algorand, and I started tracking Algorand when we talked about it last week or the week before, when there was a news around El Salvador would be using Algorand for their government blockchain-based projects. So instead of going with Ethereum, there was a news that the government of El Salvador will probably go with Algorand. But suddenly, out of nowhere, it's like doubled in a week. After lying low for some time, now suddenly we see some traction in Algorand. Again, there was a news around El Salvador. And then I started to read a little more on this one. I actually like. I haven't gone through the completely, but it does seem to be, let me put it this way, seems to be a good project from, in terms of the brains behind this. Algorand, the main person behind Algorand is a professor in MIT, who is a creator of we call variable random functions. Hold on, I hope I get this math right. Sikali, MIT. So I have yet to read. So there was one report from a hedge fund around the Algorand, which was talking, and of course they have the vested interest in Algorand because they've invested in it. It's a 40-50 page report. Got my hand around that yesterday. I haven't read that through. Some of the portions are kind of out of my knowledge depth, but the net what they're trying to say is all that we talked about on the decentralization, right? The proof of stake. When we say proof of stake is decentralized, it is because in some cases we are only having a group of validators we choose at random and have them validated. Say if there are 3,000 or 4,000 validators over there, right? If you wait for all the 4,000 validators to confirm the transaction, then it's going to be really, really slow. Again, there has to be a match between whether you want speed or you want decentralization. So what most of the blockchains end up doing is, you know what, I'll pick up a committee of 20 validators who will validate this transaction or this transaction block. Next time I'll pick up another set of 20, another set of 50, whatever the number is. Now you run up a huge risk in that case if those 20 validators, they can collude with each other, or those 20 can be bribed by a malicious actor. The way, let's say I'm a state actor, I want to attack this particular chain because this is where the whole of US financial system is running on. I want to attack it. Then I can spend some resources to bribe those 20 validators or the committee of validators who will be validating the transaction. Right? But the only way to avoid that is to have enough randomness in the system so that it is not easy to guess which 20s will actually come up, will get a right to validate it, right? So that selection is random. So their concern is no mathematical function. The most of the mathematical functions that are used by these blockchains, which say that we'll pick up randomly, are not truly random. And that's where they say the only truly random is what the VRF is. Let me just pick it up that way. And who is the inventor of that VRF? Is this guy, Algorand founder, the MIT professor. Oh, no, it's not variable. It is verifiable random function. So this was done by, he actually won a Turing Award, which is equivalent of a Nobel Prize in computers, right? It's founded by cryptography pioneer Turing Award winner Silvio Micali. So this is not found by, hey, a new developer moved out from, the general web technologies are now moving on to the blockchain. So Silvio Micali has been involved in cryptography space for years, if not decades, before founding this. And he's the founder of this verifiable random function. It means you just can't cheat the system. Today, even ETH 2.0, if you cheat the system will punish it by slashing your ETH stake. But what Mikhail is trying to do is it becomes impossible to cheat the system. Again, so there, how much will succeed? I have no idea, but I like the whole approach to this. And what they are focused on is providing this ability, and because you are able to achieve this confirmed randomness and almost impossible to figure out who will be those in the committee to verify it. What Algorand has been able to do is to verify the transaction. It takes microseconds. But if you have to cheat the system, it will take you years to cheat the system. And that is why all they're trying to do is to get through this trilemma that we don't have to make a decision between decentralization and speed, and how should we be able to achieve both. If it really does what it says it can do, that would be great, right? That you have a faster system and it is not concentrated with only those who can afford high level machines, only those who can afford the specifications of Solana. Then even if I'm holding one Algorand token, I can also vote for and participate in terms of while verifying the transactions. So in the theory, I like that great. There's a lot of mathematics behind it, which I didn't understand. So I can't tell you about that because I don't know that math, but that's their overall overarching, I would say, philosophy is that we shouldn't have to compromise with this trilemma. So we'll see how it will work out. They're focused on financial ecosystem. Right? If the countries have to create CBDCs, if the current banks, say that the traditional financial system, have to move over to the blockchain and become decentralized, they will need the speed, they will need a finality. Algorand guarantees a finality in 5 seconds. Right? Bitcoin's finality is longer. The speed is pretty quick because the decentralization is guaranteed by the VRFs, and you don't really have to wait for the larger number of nodes to confirm the transactions. So that's their theory behind it. And when the news came out that El Salvador will be using Algorand for bringing blockchain, basically running a lot of government functions on blockchain, they started going up. And they are trying to want to become a bridge between the traditional finance and the DeFi. Because if big financial institutions or big money has to come in, they have to be really, really sure that it is a truly decentralized system. It's a truly random selection, that no state actor, even if the state actor may not have any economic incentive, if their only motive is to destroy the system, they shouldn't be able to destroy it. So that's their pitch, not my pitch, but their pitch. And I had not looked at Algorand before, but after I read through it, I'm like, to me, it looks like maybe I can initiate a position. So educational opinion only. So I did picked up started building up some position. Zifty says that 20 picked are random, no issue, but one of them will be the fastest to win the verification for rewards. No, this doesn't work on a proof of work. So that they have a completely different mechanism on how the transactions are verified. Right? And those 20 don't even know whether they will be they will be the nominated. So the way it happens is let's say if there are 10,000 validators, all 10,000 validator will run a VRF function And then they will run the function, give the output of that and declare to everyone. And there's another function which runs. That's where, I lose my depth on the math. You're asking the questions which are very difficult. But then there's another function which runs, which will randomly pick up out of those whatever thousands of validators who have thrown their output. They will randomly pick up on the 20s and then see what those 20s have to say about the particular transactions, yay or nay. Right? So even if I'm running that node, I don't know that for this particular block, am I in the validator in the committee or not? So that's how they're trying to make it truly random. If you're interested in it, let me just search it for you. There are some things which I find this Rington Capital Algorand. Again, take with a pinch of salt, because this is the company that have invested in Algorand. So they will have a vested interest to make it look good. So don't depend only on this. Try to read through, maybe listen to. So I started listening to the lecture that he has given in MIT talking about Algorand. Right? There are a few YouTube videos more than an hour long each. I will spend some more time, but this is what I was reading through yesterday night, and needless to say that I fell asleep in between when they started talking about these, some of the, how the random function works and all that stuff. But I'll share this link here in case you were interested in digging deeper into this. I don't know what happened. Okay, where's the chat? There we go. But this was something, again, for me to build a conviction, I need to spend some time in trying to understand what the heck is happening here. Why that different? Why did El Salvador choose Algorand? I mean, that was the trigger point for me. Why Algorand? Why not something else? And then I started looking at what Algorand is, came across this, you watched through some of the YouTube videos, looked at who is this founder behind it, does this founder has a credibility or not, and so on and so forth. Right? Again, all this study can come to naught if there is no traction on it. Right? But at least now I have some basis, some theory behind, okay, why I want to track Algorand, or why I want to, put some money behind Algorand. So I took some positions. For now, I'm happy because it became double in a week, but we'll see. So that's around Algorand. I don't know, any one of you have studied Algorand before? And there are so many projects that I only get to study when I see some big movement happening on it, right? Could I just have, looked at Algorand and somewhere in 2020 and maybe picked it up 30 cents, 20 cents? Maybe, possible. But for me, it is difficult to just, sprinkle my money on every project, because there are 8,000 projects. I don't know which one. So when I see some news around some adoption, that's when I start to dig deeper and trying to understand what is happening here. Oh, what else I wanted to talk about? We looked at everything else. Yep, I think that's all I had for today. Let's see if there are questions. There is some fun comparison, around Bitcoin today is as if what internet was 1997, but it's good, This was Amazon in 1997. Welcome to Earth's biggest bookstore. So if we are saying Bitcoin is already in bubble, Bitcoin is already done what it's supposed to do, there's no more use cases. So some proponents of Bitcoin have been actually putting some great comparison charts, saying you ain't seeing anything yet. This is Bitcoin in 2021, where internet was in 1997. Wait for a few more years. Things are going to get more interesting in the Bitcoin world. Was another one. There we go. 2021, Apple was in 1997. Power Macintosh and all this. Now, 2028, it will be a new, Bitcoin will be a new phase. Again, take it with your pinch of salt, build your own conviction. Obviously, all these are coming from the big proponents of Bitcoin ecosystem. You ask Ethereum, people who are more invested in Ethereum, they will dismiss Bitcoin. And this is what I was first surprised when I attended a Bitcoin, this Miami conference. And during the chat, it was very clear that this whole crypto world is a very tribal world. People feel very strong to one particular project, which is not how I want to operate upon. I'm open for any project. Right? I don't have any, I might have some, I would say, positive feelings about one and as compared to others, but I'm not shutting down any projects. But I did see that in the chat, if there are Ethereum maximalists, they will just diss Bitcoin and the other way around. And now, ever since I became a little more active on Twitter, which is what I started using Twitter at end of last year. So then maybe there's a great knowledge in Twitter, so I start using it. And now I get to see a lot more crypto news from in a crypto, I think that's universe is called crypto Twitter. There's a back and forth, exchanging insults, exchanging barbs between maximalists. I'm like, I'll watch everything, but I'm open to any project, whichever I feel could, based on my study, which I feel more passionate about. I'm not married to anyone. Yeah, some holdings are more than others because those holdings are done better. But if my viewpoint changes, I'll probably move to something else. Like, I picked up Algorand. Bitcoin maximalists won't pick anything other than Bitcoin. What they call any other coins is a shit coin. For me, that's not the case. I have positions in others as well. But that's just me. I don't know about you, maximalist or whatever. I'm a retail investor. Okay, I am looking from that perspective. That's my journey in crypto. Cool. We got what, 10 minutes left? It's good to see that we are finishing in time, not running out of time, like always. So anything else to talk about? Anything other exciting stuff that you found out? Any new thing you learned on crypto? So for me, my learning was digging a little deeper into Algorand, trying to find out why Algorand, basically trying to get an answer to why Algorand. That was my learning for this week. Cool, nothing else, then we'll get a few minutes back to our schedule. All right, all good. Well, thank you everyone. And because I've recorded this, I will upload it on YouTube and will share the link through the message in the meetup itself. Okay, do you know anything about IoTX? Is the IoTX no, I think that was MIoT, which was focused on IoT use case. Hold on, let's look at IoTX. CRY. Nope. So generally, when I spend time on the cryptos getting deeper, so this does qualify for me to spend time because it is available on Coinbase. If it is not available on, the standard US exchanges, then I generally don't spend time. Like, I don't know, I can't even trade in it. Okay, I'm not going to spend time. But this looks to be from the name, it seems like they're planning to do something on Internet of Things. There was, I think, MIOT, if I recall correctly. Yeah, MIOTA. They were also having the same use case that they were trying to do Internet of Things, if I recall correctly. Where is it? Microtransaction without fee as well as for data. Yeah, this is for Internet of Things. So let's see what IoTX says about it. So IoTX is auto scalable, privacy-centric blockchain infrastructure or for Internet of Things. It's okay. PhDs in cryptographic distribution system. That's great. Everyone talks about that. Developing several in-house innovations to put frontier of blockchain 3, including a blockchains in blockchain architecture for heterogeneous computing, lightning fast roll, delegated proof of stake consensus mechanism, lightweight privacy present techniques, is bring autonomous device coordination. Okay, so this is where they want to focus on autonomous driving, which would be great. Once we have all the cars start to talk to each other. Well, let's look at their website and see what they have to offer. And then maybe I also use YouTube to look at what some of the folks that I follow have to say, but I ignore everything which talks about this is going to moon. Okay. And sometimes it becomes difficult. Today I had to find what the Algorand. I'm trying to look at Algorand, consensus details. First 10 or 15 searches that I get on YouTube is all, oh, Algorand will go to moon, $200, whatever, that crap, right? So I'm like, no, that's not what I'm looking for. So I had to refine my search, saying Mikhailos Kalia, VRF, Algorand, to get to that lecture which I could find, which he delivered. Basically, it's a recording of a lecture in his MIT, because that's what I was looking for. So what does they do? Jana generate billions of devices, decentralized applications across the world. 7,000 devices, that doesn't seem to be too more stakers, community. But why are they the best? I hate this. IoTX records on moons, and that's on the company website. I don't like that. But maybe there's a young website. The founders may be pretty excited about that. It achieved $1 billion valuation. Okay, let's look at the white paper and see how they work. Okay, let's look at their team. Roland Chai, strategy, blockchain, eco research scientist at University of Waterloo, head of crypto R&D at Uber. Okay, security engineering. These are the VC focused on PhD in machine learning and computer vision. Okay, so only this is the head of product at, so not they have a host of PhDs. Maybe, yeah, they do have a cryptographic PhD in their team. I'll give them that. What's their tokenomics, how it works? Powering the connected ecosystem is the entryway to the most efficient, most secure blockchain network in the world. More devices are added. I agree. Why would I add with IoTX? Is what I want to know. Okay. One of a kind that gives the holder access to IoT's network, worldwide impact that comes with it. Holders can stake and vote for delegates, dramatically shaping. So till now, I'm finding a lot more, jazz words, keywords, a lot more promotion around, okay, buy here, you can trade it here. I don't want to see that on the company's website, talking more about we're going to the moon, or you can trade here, you can stake it. Staking is still okay, but buying it here, trade it here, what you can do. A lot of heavy words. I'm still trying to figure out. I was expecting that when I come to IOTX, they will tell me exactly how it works, what their ecosystem is. If I were to get connected, what do I need to do? What am I supposed to buy? What's my next step? I don't know. Is it just me? Or have you been able to figure that out till now on what's the next step? Investor tools, no. Ecosystem. No, but how do I participate in this? Staking portal, burn drop. Again, I hate this burn drop. Okay, IOTX uses. Let's try that. Maybe they have something here. Easy to use, real world connectivity, ultra scalable, stake and vote. Everyone does stake and vote. Okay. Unlock IOTX's potential. Stake, earn an airdrop. I hate when people talk about, companies talk about airdrop. These are some of the things which is like, hey, you want to pump up your stock. You can benefit from various features of IOTX. You know what, really, now I don't feel any excited about this, because every page brings me to the similar theory of how if you hold IOTX, you'll benefit, you're going to change the world. But what is that it is trying to do? What's the business use case? I haven't been able to find it yet. Okay, maybe let's look at here. Maybe I'm not looking at the right place, but I clicked on the IOTX. I'll go to the white paper. But that white paper could have been done some time ago. So I thought maybe on their website, if I come here, I'll figure out. Let's do a helium network, right? We did that. Not that I was bullish on this, but when I looked at it, I was able to figure out what exactly they do. What is HNT? This is how the mining happens, how it's distributed, what happens, what's these rewards types are, what is its use, how you can start using the network. It's a different matter that after I did the whole analysis, I was like, oh, I'm not really excited about it. And we talked about the reasons. But on IOTX, I haven't yet been able to figure out, apart from the fact that you buy the token, you can stake the token, you earn the rewards. Till now, I haven't seen any information on the website on how it gets used. Where is the business use case? So I'm a little disappointed in this one. I will, okay. And the white paper is not there. There we go. Now to me, it seems like just a scam website, because if I can't find your white paper, hold on, maybe I went to a different link. Let me see if they have a link from their website. What? Let's say research. Generally on an about, they will have a link to the white paper. Okay, they do have. Am I back to the same page? Okay, so it did download. Oh, it downloaded something. Okay. So may I have to pick a right language. Should be Russian. They don't have it in English. Yellow paper. Okay, roll up on a delegated proof of stake. I guess that's what they're referring to. So I am disappointed in this one. I don't think if there's no white paper in English looks like. Okay. What we spent 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. I can get to figure out what the business that they're involved in. I can get access to the English written white paper. Oh, I'm out. I don't know why Coinbase has listed them. They have also lowered their research criteria. Or maybe my search capability has really gone down that I can't figure out on what they're going to do. Yeah, they do say Pebble. Do they have a partnership with Pebble? I know Pebble. But are they, okay, says you, is that the Pebble that I know of, or is this the new Pebble? Okay, Pebble is a brainchild of these. Oh, so they do have a couple of devices. And if you use Pebble, you use UCAM. These devices utilize this IoTX blockchain to store their data. But I think they make most of money by selling these devices. Why would I want to have this Pebble? Why would I be interested in buying UCAM and not any other camera? Right? If it is working with, let's say, my GE devices, my IoT enabled microwave, and not from any manufacturer, not restricted to their own devices, I'm not interested. Okay, maybe the business model is that these devices, more and more these UCAMs come into picture, then the more will be the use of the blockchain. That's where you'll need this token. But I think, why would someone buy this UCAM when there are thousands of other choices available for the, why wouldn't I buy a ring? Right? So I'm not at all interested. To me, this looks like more of a pump and dump kind of a company. Oh, I could be wrong, but that's all I could find out from in 10 minutes. It's not really coming. Most of the time on the pages talking about why you should buy this token. I don't want to hear that. It's like company, instead of talking about their business, everything on their web page is about the share price. I only want to see the share price in the investor relations section, nowhere else. It puts me off. Oh, this is what this company has done. All right, so I think P. Shang, I think you got my viewpoint on this one. I'm really not excited about it. So I would stay away from this. If you got a lot more information, if you came to know about this company from someone else, maybe dig deeper and ask them about the business. We'll come to the token later, but what's the business? Zifty asks, as investor, how does GBTC compare with BTC? So GBTC, so plus point of GBTC is you can buy it in your retirement accounts. You can buy it in normal brokerage accounts. The negative side of GBTC is that you have to pay higher fee. We saw in Sunday session that I have to pay $4 for this. And thank you. I think Zifty, you brought it up. I didn't even know about that. Number two is that a GBTC, it doesn't always track one-to-one with what the Bitcoin price is. So most of the time it had stayed on premium, means you were actually paying double the percentage, you were paying double the price to hold GBTC, what you could have just invested in Bitcoin. Now, at some point the premium was 100%, then it came down to 40%, then it came down to 30%, etc. Now it is at a little discount. So it doesn't always, it is a strongly correlated, but I wouldn't say it's a 100% correlated. 95%, which is probably good enough from our purpose. Another drawback is you cannot trade in GBTC 24/7. You can only trade in it when the exchanges are open. So on the weekend, market crashed on Friday, evening, because there was a news that SEC is gonna deem Ethereum as a security or Bitcoin as a security, and then everyone is trying to get out of their Bitcoin positions. If I hold a Bitcoin, of course, I'll have to, take a loss, but I'll be able to get out of that on Friday afternoon, after the market closed. But if you own GBTC, you have to wait until the next trading day. Other question is not sure what the yield would. I don't know how GBTC operates. How do they invest their holdings? They actually buy Bitcoin. So let's look at if you look, hold on, let me see, bitcointraces.org. But then they have their management overhead. So you don't get, hey, not this one. What happened to Bitcoin Treasuries website? .net, not .org. I keep forgetting which is .net, which is .org. Why can't everyone have .com? So MicroStrategy hold 108,000 Bitcoins, Tesla, Square, Marathon Digital, Galaxy, Bitcoin Group. Where is that's on Riot, High Blockchain, is Grayscale. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. They basically hold 654,000 Bitcoins. So when when the institutional investors buy, so this is generally open only for institutional investors. When they open up this trust, then the institutional investors have a holding period. They can't sell GBTCs for next 6 months. So it is sometimes important to track when the next window is for institutional investors to sell, because we could see that many institutional investors sell at that point of a time because they want to enjoy the gains, or maybe they want to get money back, they want to invest somewhere else, and we'll see a lot of GBTCs being sold at that point of a time. But the way it operates is when the Grayscale Bitcoin, Grayscale investments, they raise funds from institutional investors. They tell them, we're going to invest, basically we're going to buy Bitcoins, but you have to hold these trust units. It's like a mutual fund unit. It's like a trust units in your account. You cannot sell it for next 6 months. After 6 months, then those institutional investors will be able to sell it in an open market. And then that's where you and I, we can basically buy this in an open market. Right? But this, when the institutional investors buy these, when the GBTs, when the Grayscale create these units, they back it by the Bitcoin that they hold. So they hold the max number of Bitcoin of all the entities. They got 654,000 Bitcoins under this trust. This is the biggest holder of Bitcoin. The next biggest seems to be MicroStrategy, 108,000. It's do they buy and sell? No, they just buy and hold. Ziftis, I feel the same when I go to these websites. They don't even have white paper diagram. They invest blindly. Yeah, I want to stay away, and that is why I'm very particular about when I'm looking at a crypto. I don't care that it has become 10x in a week. I want to go back and read more about it. What's the business use case? How are they going to grow their ecosystem? Unfortunately, in IoTX, I didn't find anything. Hopefully that answers their questions if they're on the GBTC. All right, we went over like always, but I love these discussions. I mean, this session is meant for discussions. So next time, bring these questions up front. I mean, the content, we can talk about the curated content later. I just curate some content so that if there is no questions, at least the time that you spend here can be a little bit of useful to you. So I hope you learned something from what we talked today, and it helps you in your crypto journey. It does help me. I want to talk about Algorand, so I spent some time in reading about Algorand. And I thought I'll discuss with you. So that in turns benefited me as well. Okay. All right. Good night, everyone. I won't hold you for longer. And let's again talk next week. I'll upload this on YouTube and share the link with through the meetup.